This podcast is sponsored by Two Fat Lardies. Check them out at www.twofatlardies.co.uk and play the period, not the rules. This vidcast is sponsored by Coat Harms Paints, the #1 source for all your model painting needs. Check out their website for more details. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Meeples and Miniatures and Miniature Review Show with me, your host, Neil Shook. On today's show we're looking at a release from Fireforge Games. You may remember Fireforge brought out a box set of Teutonic Knights a few months ago now that had been eagerly anticipated. This is their second release in that range, and these are the Templar Knights. Now, immediately as you look at this box, it's striking that the box art is absolutely superb, and this charge of knights is actually one reason why I love wargaming. You know, this sort of imagery, so if you know me, this sort of imagery is really why I wargame. So, you know, you put this on the front of a box and I'm sold already. Okay, if we take a look at the back, what we have is a very brief breakdown of the history of the Templar Knights. Notes of what else is in the range. Also, a small colour picture of a potential makeup of the unit that you get in the box. So this is a big packed box, and let's see what we get in it. Well, first off, we've got 3 sprues of miniatures. If you've seen my Teutonic Knights review, this sprue is pretty familiar and initially actually looks the same. The knight bodies and the capes look pretty similar, as do the weapon selection. 4 different poses of body, 4 different capes that you can put over the shoulders. Well, obviously, of course, that is an optional extra. So it's a choice of 9 different hand weapons. So you've got 2 swords, a mace, a morning star and an axe, plus 4 different poses of lances. And then you've got 6 different shields. You'll notice you've got 3 shields with moulded arms, and then you've got 3 blank shields, and there are 3 shield arms amongst the weaponry that you can glue those blank shields on. So from what I can see on this sprue, the differences are A, the shields on the far right hand side, and then B, on the far left hand side, the heads. There are 10 different heads available, and the helms and the headgear that are depicted here are much different to those that come with the Teutonic Knights. Obviously, Teutonic Knights have a quite distinctive great headgear. That they had these quite distinctive great helms. These are slightly different, but as with the Teutonic Knights before them, the possibilities for multi-pose are pretty extensive. Now you get 2 of these particular sprues in the box. The third sprue is this one, which is almost, if you like, a command sprue. The main part of the body of the sprue is exactly the same. The only thing that differs is on the far left. Rather than having heads, here we have an option of musician with a horn. You've got various flags that can be attached to the lances, as well as a cross. So this is almost like, say, the command sprue, if you so wish. So that makes up the selection of figures you can get as far as the knights are concerned. Then you have the horses, and in this particular instance you've got 2 different types of horses. First off, you've got 3 of this sprue. Now this is a familiar sprue because it's the same horse as what you found in the Teutonic Knights. So it's a barded horse, left and right body halves, different heads, and a couple of different tails. Then also you have a couple of these sprues as well. This is the unarmoured horse. More permutations here, as you've got 3 left, 3 right hand sides and 3 different heads and tails. So lots of different things to be able to do with these horses. So that will give you a mix of fully made up models of knights riding armoured and unarmoured horses. So what I've done is I've then gone away and used a sprue and made up a selection of 4 different knights using 2 armoured and 2 armoured horses. So if you wanted to, you can make up all your knights so they are carrying lances, as there are enough lances in the box set to have everybody armed with lances. Other than that, you can make up everybody with hand weapons, although not everybody will have a sword available, for example. So let's take a quick tour around some of these miniatures. So one thing of note with the Templars is the shield is pretty dominant. It's larger than a Norman kite shield. So as you see in this miniature, it really does kind of dominate the look. However, again, immediately of note with these new unarmoured horse poses is the dynamic pose this makes. So here we have a guy charging with a lance. He's levelling the lance, cape flying back over his shoulders as his horse charges. Makes a really dynamic, dramatic pose. But it's also worth noting that although he's got a separate head, the horse heads actually fit really well into the bodies. There's a bit of cleaning up to do, and also, when it comes to actually gluing these things together, especially the lance arms, because of the extra weight in the lances, it takes a little bit of patience before they finally stick in place. You've got to kind of make sure that you hold them in place for a while, otherwise the sheer weight of the weaponry will potentially cause the arm to droop. So something to consider when you're putting these together with the lances. Here we have next up one of the guys with hand weapon. This guy has an axe. Again, this one shows, although it's a nice and armoured horse, you will have to potentially do a bit of work when you put the horses together. There is quite a distinct line around where the neck meets the body on this particular horse. So a bit of modelling work will need to be there just to kind of smooth that out. Again, dominant kite shield on this model. The horse pose looks dynamic and really natural. That's one thing that I was impressed with these new horses. They have really nice poses. The knight sits really well on the horse. Easy to put together. Has a very nice look and feel to it. Again, another knight with a hand weapon, slightly more dynamic pose. Charging with a sword, and again the flowing capes on these figures lend to this dynamic style. The majority of the bodies of the knights are leaning forward, and you can definitely pose the majority of horses so they look like they're lunging, charging forward. Again, big shields. The thing most of note with these models is that the size of the shield, they do kind of dominate the model a little bit. Again, you'll need to look at the mould lines where the horse's head connects with its neck and tidy that up a bit. But hopefully in that on here you'll see that the chainmail on the armour for the Plastic Knights is actually done really well. So you can get you should be able to get a lot of definition on that when you dry brush. Again, nice dynamic pose. Quick view of this from the back. Okay, the cape needs a bit of cleaning up, but I really like the way these capes are sculpted. They give a lovely flow to the figure. They help with the dynamic nature of the charging, with the fact that they're flowing out from the shoulders. I'm really impressed. I mean, despite the fact you got this option not to put the capes on. I mean, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? I'll just take another side look at this figure. It is worth of note that you do have to be a little bit careful when putting the capes on. only because there are some poses and some capes where it might be problematic which weapon arm that you're using with the cape, as opposed to how you pose both the weapon arm and the shield arm. So that's something to look out for. Final pose, again, different head. The nice thing about this particular set as well is, although there are several open-faced helms, the sculpting, even on the open-faced ones, is really nice. So you get some definition of the face. And again, you'll see that, with the flow of the robes and the flow of the barding, you should be able to get a really nice paint job, and especially the dry brushing and washes. Have plenty of areas to flow into, which is something that can be a bit of an issue with plastic kits at times. 28mm models have a particular sculpting style, an awful lot of them do anyway, where the detailing is very deep and pronounced, and these have followed that. So some of the folds and stuff are slightly kind of almost like exaggerated in scale, so they're very much in fitting with an awful lot of stuff that is currently out there on the market. So as I said, potentially thousands of different models that you can make with this box set. And I think you'll agree that they just make for a dynamic and dramatic set of poses. So once you put these figures together into a complete unit, they really do look the part as an onrushing wedge of knights, which I say are just fantastic looking. Despite a couple of little fiddly bits with the arms, especially when you start coming to swapping and changing and making sure what shields fit onto what bodies with what capes. That's one thing you've got to be a little bit careful of, especially with the shields with the moulded arms. They do tend to be quite tightly moulded, so they have this thing where, as you see on these poses, where the shield is held right round in front of the body. That shoulder joint can be quite awkward depending on what body you've got and what cape you put underneath it, so a little bit of dry running when you pose these figures is required. But I think you'll agree the final result is a smashing set of dynamic figures. Now these are available in the UK as a box set for £20, which is just under £1.70 a figure, which as far as cavalry is concerned is dirt cheap, and especially with the sheer number of options you have available. I mean, there are just over 8,500 different ways that you can put the knights together. Couple that with, I think it's 93 different variations for the two for combined for the two different horses, and you get over 800,000 different unique miniatures. So from that, you could put together obviously massive armies, and each figure would be completely individual. So completely multi-pose, lots and lots of choice, and at a very, very good price. Now these are available either direct from Fireforge Games, or many model retailers now have them in stocked separately, which is an increasing feature of all these box sets of plastic miniatures. As I noted, this one is completely rammed due to the number of horses, so it's really is a packed box. One thing I didn't mention is as well as that, you get the standard Renedra set of bases. You can't base each of your figures individually, but it gives you the option of basing about half individually and half in groups of two, if you use the bases that come with the box. So there we have it, the Templar Knights from Fireforge Games. I would highly recommend them. I think they're an excellent box set of miniatures, I really do. That's all we've got time for on this show. Just to say thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. Take care, and I'll see you very soon. Bye. This vidcast is sponsored by Caliver Books. More stuff for wargamers than anyone else on the planet. Check out their website for more details. This vidcast is sponsored by Wargame Soldiers and Strategy magazine. Check out their website at www.wssmagazine.com.